Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Spooky Japan Podcast. Happy to have everyone here. We have a very special guest with us today. Alex, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
We're doing pretty good. It's just hot here in Japan, so trying to hopefully get through the last of the month and hopefully it starts cooling down soon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, at least here in the United States, not to make you homesick, Amanda, but it's like we got the air conditioning and yeah.
We don't have, unfortunately, that we Japan. For anyone listening, Japan does not have central AC, so that's why we always look like we're dying of heat because we are.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry.
That's
Go. Mm.
So you have a symposium coming up?
Yeah. So, August 17th, 2 weeks from today, I will be with my team who has been amazing and helping me out, producing my first paranormal conference, that is just me and my team. We did do the Trivia Clinic Parafest a few months ago, which was co-coordinated with Great State Paranormal. So the Paranormal Research Symposium is going to be the first with like me and my team. That's happening 2 weeks from today. I just got back from Gettysburg about an hour and a half ago to work out final logistics for the event with a couple with the venues, and yeah, it's getting real. It's getting real.
That'd be a dream to host a paranormal conference. People ask us in Japan if we would do it, and I'm just like, here in Japan, it's different because
Mhm.
people are not open about being
Right.
in a paranormal. So I'm like, it would just be me and Irene who show up to it. So
You
I was like,
never
I'm not sure.
know. Japan
Mm-mm.
has a parapsychology association.
Mm-mm. Yeah, but they're not going to talk about it. People are not going to say anything. People are not going to be open to it because people don't want to lose their jobs.
Hmm.
So you have to be very careful about what you talk about and who you talk to because
Mhm.
you will land yourself on the unemployment agency.
Mm. That's
So you,
unfortunate.
even though they have one, they don't talk about it. And even though they do, they will not admit they have one.
That's interesting. Yeah. It's very
So
interesting.
people may say, "Well, you got this, you got that there." No, you don't. No, we don't. We will. They will never admit to this type of work or this type of
Mhm.
field. It's more of a taboo thing. And Amanda will tell you the same thing as I do.
Yeah.
The first thing I wanted to do when I got to Japan is dive into the paranormal community. I was like, I can't wait to go back to the States and brag to everyone about all the cool paranormal stuff I did in Japan. And then I get here and it's just Irene who's at least open about it.
Mhm.
Other people, I mean, might film stuff, but they either are behind the camera or they blur their face or they wear a mask. And we've tried reaching out to a lot of them, but it's just a lot of them have like the DMs closed. They don't really respond to you. And it's just,
Hmm.
Because I'm
Wow.
bilingual, I can write in Japanese. I can tell. I can speak to them, but they will not. They either said ha 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 or three W's mean hoo 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 hoo. That's all it means. That's as far as it's gonna go. So
Mhm. That's really interesting because I follow a couple of Japanese creators who I mean, I don't know if I think they investigate too, but they do a lot of like talking about the history, the ghost lore, and that's actually how I found the Parapsychology Association in Japan. Um, and I've read their journals. Their journals are actually really well done. It's the Japanese Journal of Parapsychology. That's a shame. That's a shame though that that's
come out and talk to you, and they will not come out and do any shows ever
hmm.
because they're hiding behind whatever. They will write to you, but they will not come out and talk to you,
Hmm.
and not come out on do on any show.
Oh
Never
wow.
ever will they ever do that.
yeah, we tried networking. So it's, I mean, I can understand when I try, but when she tries in Japanese too.
That is wow. That's interesting. I mean, I haven't talked to my family in Japan. They're in Fukuoka.
Oh,
Much of
that's just north of me.
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah, if you meet a Matsuo in Fukuoka, I'm more than likely probably related to them. My great grandfather had a lot of siblings and cousins. Yeah, let me see if I can find. I'll find this guy that I've been following for a little bit. Yeah, his name is Kyoto Ko. Okay, yeah, I'll send it over to y'all. But yeah, no, that's a shame because y'all have such a rich history when it comes to like ghost stories, paranormal experiences. Yeah, it's that. I mean, that's a shame that it's so disregarded, or at least there's a stigma. The stigma around it. The stigma around it is so.
They just
Yeah.
don't want to talk about it in public. That's all. They will talk to you in private, but they will
Mhm.
never in public. Um,
People have lost jobs over either being into it or saying they saw something.
yeah,
There was
Mhm.
pilot.
a Japanese airline pilot who thought he saw a UFO when he said it, and as soon as he landed, they brought him into the office and terminated him.
So,
Oh wow.
so
Okay.
it first they benched him and said you're gonna do desk work, and then he I think was forced to retire, so he retired. But yeah, they're not
So
gonna they don't not gonna allow it.
I do wonder though, like, where's the line? Because I know like Balm is very popular still over in Japan, and that's very spiritually centric. So I guess like I'm just like I'm curious, like from your experience, Irene, like what's the line then? Like, yeah, I'm just curious.
They will so they will go to the graves at midnight. They will clean their relatives' graves, but and they will bring offerings to put there so they can eat and have uh give them water and incense and do everything else. But then that's it. That's all they'll do, and they'll go home. They don't
Hmm.
do any. We will make sticky rice and red bean paste balls to make. I do that too for my dead relatives.
Mhm.
That's all they'll do, and they'll say, "Okay, come and eat," but then you have to go back to where you belong. They will not allow them to stick around because they don't want them to stick around. Neither do I. Actually, I don't want my dead relatives to stick around in my house.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, no, I don't blame you.
they don't want anything that doesn't belong in their realm,
Mhm.
in their boundaries. So yeah,
Right.
you invite them, you let them eat, and you kick them out afterwards.
Oh
That's
wow.
as far as it goes. And I
In-
understand because for them, they don't want they don't want any trouble with any dead spirits. They don't want them anywhere near their their room or their boundaries. They don't want them there, and I can understand that because it can be really hairy if you do allow them. So it's this is my space. This is your space. You go in your space. Don't go in my space. And afterwards, you have to leave.
Mhm.
And if you can't, they don't believe in crossing them over. They don't believe in doing anything like that. They don't believe in making sure that they're at peace. They don't do that either. Only if you go to a Buddhist temple, you have the Buddhist priest to do that. That will happen. But otherwise, there's no one who will. There's no clairvoyant who will actually do that and help you. Because I've tried that, and that doesn't happen.
Hmm.
And so you can forget about it.
Interesting. Um.
it it's just that there there are particular clairvoyants that you can go to, but they're really far away. And yeah, I mean,
Right.
every need. you have to go to a Buddhist priest to get anything done. But it's like far, far away, and
Interesting.
it's you have, depending on how they die, depending on what kind of funeral you give them, depending on how they die, what kind of how you pray for them, and how you respect them is depending on how they die. And you just, yeah, keep it really quiet,
Hmm.
because you don't want A, B, and C to come after you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you mentioned the pilot who saw the UFO, I mean, that would happen here in America too. A lot of pilots have lost, not lost, but they've been affected by reporting sightings. But I did have a question. So I guess the repercussions of being open about about beliefs and whatnot, then it makes me wonder about like the people who appeared on the Unsolved Mysteries episode Tsunami Spirits.
Hmm.
Um, I guess like they must have then sacrificed basically everything to be on that show, especially the taxi drivers and the I know there was a few religious members who spoke on that episode too, but there was many witnesses who came forward, and they were living in Japan, native Japan, who came forward about that. So from what y'all are telling me, it sounds like they
You're
likely lost their job
not
then.
to come on the show because they're not going to do it. They wouldn't go volunteer themselves and stick their neck out on the line, or they must have been working for themselves to do that,
Hmm.
because they're not going to come out and say anything without any guarantee or any satisfaction or anything.
Right.
Here is it's hard enough to live in this country and not worry about where you're going to get your next paycheck.
Hmm. That
If
was
you talk,
interesting.
if you have a regular job and you keep your nose clean and you don't say anything, you're not going to have any problems. If you do say something, watch out. And it goes for um anything like paranormal or anything like that. You have to be careful. I don't talk about what I do, and I will never talk about what I do, and I will never come clean with what I do. Not in the public ever in this country. I refuse
So,
to.
so you're not worried about somebody in Japan or watching this then right now?
No,
Well,
Okay.
she doesn't. She doesn't. Her husband works, so
and I don't.
Okay. Interesting. Wow. Well, I'm sorry it's such a different mindset out there. That's
I don't know if
wild.
the taxi drivers are different though, because I'm so used to anytime there is a uh, typhoon out here, especially in the areas that usually get typhoons.
Hmm.
A lot of taxi drivers do say that they're used to afterwards picking up the ghost cabbies, I guess I want to call it,
Hmm.
where they're so used to afterwards they'll pick up someone who they'll have they'll let into the cab, they'll have a whole conversation with, and you can even see on like some of the footage it looks like they're going in and out of a shadow. Then they
Hmm.
reach their destination, they turn around, and the person's completely gone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
'Cause I've watched some of those videos too that they put out. And I know a
Hmm.
lot of people in America, when I watch those videos, will watch it and they're like, "Well, the door opened at first," and I was like, here that's different here in Japan. Is the passenger cannot open the door. The driver has either a button like or is something that to open and close the door.
Mhm.
So he does that. The passenger cannot. So that's also why when I watch them, that's also why when they have a full blown conversation with them, that's also how I know at the end they can't just jump out because
Yeah.
it's the driver who would have to open the door. So if he didn't press the button or move that lever, there's no way for that door to open.
But a
Mm.
lot of taxi drivers go on. It's like they're on commission,
Mhm.
So they're kind of like, some of them are independent, some of them really go on their own time, so they don't
Mm-hmm.
really, they don't have like a regular job like a lot of other people do here. So they're like on commission, kind of like people. So
Mm-hmm.
they go to work, yeah, they drive a cab, yes, but it's like their own schedule what they do and when they do it, and if they want to pick up a fare or if they
Yeah.
don't want to pick up a fare. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a little bit different. So um
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
they're
looking
not.
at the cast list. I'm looking at the speaker list from the Unsolved Mysteries episode. It looks like there was just maybe one driver, and the rest were one is a city employee, and the
Yeah.
other was a resident. So just like a person who, yeah, and the other was a tsunami survivor. We got a
Hmm.
professor of sociology from, yeah. So I mean, these are fairly credible names. So it's just very, that's the cultural aspect is very interesting to me, given what with what you just told me, and I mean, I would be not concerned, but I am worried, Irene, that you're being public about this, and if there's such repercussions. I mean, is Facebook's not blocked in Japan, so I mean, because
No,
anybody could watch this.
yeah, I don't care if they watch it here. I don't care. I've already, a lot of times I will take our podcast and I will put it on my thread, and I don't care if anybody sees it. I don't care if anybody sees it, but um I want more people to watch it on my thread, so I am
Mm-hmm.
public about it. But yeah, only two neighbors know what I do, and that's it. But they
Mm-hmm.
believe what I do, so yeah, they're not bothered by it. No, maybe three neighbors know what I do. Yeah, three neighbors and one
Okay.
doctor, they all know what I do. But
Interesting. Okay.
and
Oh,
and then they say something else like, well, up your fanny, because I don't care, right? But yeah,
yeah.
I just
We're
don't.
hoping the right people in Japan who are
Yeah,
interested eventually find this and know that we're safe for them to talk to.
yeah,
I mean, they don't have to be on the podcast. They just want to talk. That's fine too,
yeah,
because we
yeah,
understand how it feels when you're feeling alone in it.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
'Cause that's one of the
Yeah.
first things I wanted to do was jump into it, and I've searched so hard for the paranormal community. That's how I found Irene, and Irene is
there are
like, "Yeah, it's
none.
just me."
There are some, but they are on TikTok, but they will go in public on TikTok, but they'll never go in public on Facebook, because they know a lot of companies do advertise on Facebook, and Japanese companies do advertise on Facebook, so they will never come on Facebook ever. And I can understand that, because they all
That's
have a
That's
job.
interesting because there's some fairly significant Japanese backers for TikTok as well. It's between
Yeah,
China and Japan. So,
yeah,
and TikTok is actually, I think, more popular
yeah,
than Facebook. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's interesting.
And then the YouTubers post um dangerous, I call it dangerous videos of places that are not safe to watch. So they got their own group there, and yeah, and that's a different company altogether. So that's a different kind of group altogether. It's just that it depends on which way you want to go. You want to go to the
Mhm.
safe side, you want to go to the interesting side, or do you want to go to the dangerous side? So it's like a mixture of whatever. But yeah,
Mm,
I'm I'm used to all of them, so I don't mind.
interesting.
I don't mind.
Okay.
I will talk to anybody, and it doesn't bother me. I think Facebook is more strict about stuff, so they feel that they can't come out and talk about it on Facebook more than they can everywhere else.
Mm,
Oh, it's because Facebook Facebook puts everyone in jail for the silliest things.
Yeah. Yeah.
My TikTok has been suspended a few times just for saying die, or kill. I
Yeah,
mean,
you have to say
TikTok's
unalive.
pretty,
And
yeah,
I was talking to
unalived and
other
yeah.
Yeah, because I was doing the TikTok thing, and I was talking to other people who do on TikTok, and I'm like, I hate TikTok sometimes because it feels so weird. Because I'm like, yeah, this person was unalived here, and it's just like it feels weird. They're like, yeah, I agree, it does feel weird, but
Mm,
unfortunately, I have to go with it, or they just
yeah.
ban you,
Yeah.
suspend you, or whatever.
Well, Facebook has done that too. You said the word SS, they will throw you in jail.
Hmm.
So they don't
Wow.
allow her. Because I've been thrown in jail for saying that word too. And I don't like the word unalive because that doesn't mean anything to me. It's not what happened, really. Unalive doesn't mean a dang thing to me. So,
But it does feel weird to say unalive, especially yeah.
so stupid. It's the most dumbest word that ever came out in the English language. I'd rather
Nice.
write the word in Japanese instead, Jisatsu. Okay, that's a lot better.
Nice. That's funny. Oh, kitty. Oh my goodness.
What? You ate, you slept, and you went to the bathroom. So what else is there life to do? No, you're not going to do that. Come here. Sit down. Be a good boy. There you go.
So, what got you interested into the paranormal?
Uh, let's see. So I had experiences when I was a kid, as most people do. And I had an interest in it, and then I had an experience in college that really made me want to dive deeper into like the research aspect of it. I grew up like having experiences, but my mother was very conservative, fundamental Christian. So she was like,
Mm,
absolutely not, nothing, ghosts here because it's demons. Um, my grandmother was my grandmother grew up in Appalachian, Kentucky, so she was like, "Yeah, that's fine." Yeah. So totally different outlook there. But yeah, so I started my own team, the Association of Paranormal Study in not August, September 2011. We're getting up to our 13th year anniversary. And yeah, I mean, really what the team is focused on these days is more about trying to look at the relationship between reports of paranormal experiences and looking at it from like a sociology aspect, anthropology, trying to better understand the activity instead of just jumping to labeling it. Just not assuming it's a ghost or assuming it's like an inhuman entity. It's more of studying the phenomena and see if like what can we discover about it.
Mhm.
So we try to go in with a very neutral aspect of it. We do residential cases, but more of just again, it's that study of it. We don't participate in resolutions. So we used to do that, but then we found that that was actually more harmful than good.
mm-hmm,
It's a very sensitive subject when you're dealing with residential cases and people's
mm-hmm,
homes and businesses, because one, you don't want to me, the risk of possibly making it worse is not worth it to me anymore. Because we also don't want to validate with unintentionally, like sometimes even just being on site at a haunted location is enough for somebody to say, I'm going to stop taking my meds for schizophrenia because there's a ghost hunting team here, so it must be a spirit here in my home, and it's not anything to do with my brain. So
Mhm.
we actually don't really do that anymore because we just don't want to cause more harm. But also, yeah, it's nearly impossible to really label any activity these days. I mean, you can go based off of trends, but yeah, it's a residentials is risky business. So we do a lot of mainly like public investigations or public locations. We do get invited to like smaller scale haunted locations too. But yeah, so it's really just childhood experiences got me interested. Then I started my team to be a little bit more organized and mainly to protect like liability and money and whatnot. So we are an LLC. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. Just studying the paranormal with a different lens than just going to haunted locations and looking for an experience, but um more so of just trying to find a better understanding of what the activity could be, how we can better understand it, looking at the nature of hauntings. We really want to look at the connections between like history, science, folklore, that whole thing, and how they relate to experiences.
I know. How many books have you written? I know you wrote several, and for everyone out there listening who doesn't know, she spends years researching each book. So it's not like she just threw together a book, but she spends that years researching everything that she can.
Yeah, so I think I've written 7 or 8 now. Actually, I need to go to my Amazon author page and check. Because not that I lost count because there's so many, but actually I don't even know what number I'm at. It's definitely not a double digit yet. Um, let's see, because I don't carry all my books with me these days. I have a limited, like, I don't bring every title with me, but I have one book coming out in September. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. That's the magic number, 8. So, 8, and number 8 is coming out in September.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
Kelly wrote a book about the Trivet Clinic as well. As you said, you also had you had a Parafest there. And that's
Mhm.
actually how I found you, because I used to go there all the time to
Nice.
investigate back when I lived in North Carolina. That was my second. Everyone has that haunted locations that they say is their home away from home, and that was it for me
Yeah.
because it wasn't too far.
Mhm.
I adored the owners, Tim and
Yes.
Greg.
Tim and Doug. Doug.
Tim and Doug. Tim and Doug,
Yep.
yes. Tim and Doug. I adored them. So one day when I got over here and I started doing TikTok, I'm like, I'm going to start also doing, besides Japanese urban legends, I'm going to also include haunted places and urban legends of other places to
Mhm.
try and get more of the paranormal community involved. Because I'm like, it's not, I'm trying to get more of the reach, but I always had to go back and forth between other haunted places, other countries' urban legends, and Japan,
Mhm.
just so I can try and get more of that community involved in my TikTok to be able to, have people see it to kind of educate. And that's originally how I started, was the TikTok to try to educate on Japanese folklore.
Yeah.
And I reached out to them because, like, hey, I've been there so many times. Is there any? Would you be okay if I did a TikTok in regards to it? And they're like, sure, we'd love a YouTube, but we also want more information. And they point me in direction of you.
Mhm. Oh, nice. Nice. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And that's,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, you should definitely check out Kyoto. He does a lot of like work with like folk tales of Japan, horror tales of Japan, like when it covers the urban legends. I follow him. Like I'm always on his page, like looking at things, because he also teaches Japanese too on his with some of his reels. And yeah, I think you would really like his content. I just read Horror Tales of Japan, and it's a very good book. Very good book. So
There is
um
so many. There's so many urban legends here in Japan. That's
yeah.
what I tell people. I'm still learning them. Like, as much as I research, as much as I research, you realize there's a lot more. You start researching one, and then it says, "Do you also want to learn about this one?" And I'm like, "What is this one? Where did this come from?" And it starts adding to the list of
Mhm.
cryptids or folklore or anything else like that.
They
My
mix them
yeah.
together, but they are separated. In this Google, they're separated, but the ones that, if you research it in America, they're all bunched together, so you don't know. So you don't know which one you're talking about. So they go into one, and they'll go into another one. They'll talk about another one in between that one, and they'll talk about another one in between that one. So you get really confused of which one you really want to talk about.
Mhm.
So they don't separate them
Yeah.
properly,
My
and they
grandfather
don't.
told me a few urban legends growing up. I think it was mainly to like scare me though. And he was Japanese, but Japanese Hawaiian. So he So, but his father was from Japan. So some of the folk tales that I heard were like the really, really old ones because that's all he heard, from his own father. So very, very old stories.
I
But
like the ones. I like the old stories. They're really cool. The
mhm,
old folklore stories are really good because nobody talks about them anymore. And I know a
mhm,
lot of them. I know a lot about them. I know a lot of older ones, and they're the best, and they're the most haunted. The older ones and the newer ones. So, and nobody talks about them anymore. Nobody talks about the old ones anymore unless you talk to a really old person who's about 80 or 90 years old. They will talk to you about it. But yeah, it's getting really scarce now. Where
mhm,
these people are, it's a dying art talking about old folklore tape stories.
mhm.
But a lot of them are true. A lot of them did happen a long time ago, and they are a part of history. So yeah, they
Mhm.
are there, and
Wow.
yeah, and there are places that have that old folklore tape stories in it, and those places still do exist even to this day.
Mm. Oh, that's
And dang, if you're a female, because you can't go there with your husband, or you can go there by yourself, but you can't go there with your husband to pray together because the jealous spirit will not like you, or crazy stuff will happen to you, or you might find yourself in a dire straits. You shouldn't be doing that together.
oh wow.
Yeah. So if you're a female, you do it by yourself. If you're male, you could pray, but if you're female, you cannot pray together.
Mm.
It's just part of it. It's just
Right.
a what happens, and it could be very dangerous sometimes if you're a female, because a lot of women who died very tragically for no reason, because of whatever they did or whatever happened to them, the spirit becomes really jealous. So you shouldn't be doing this, and this, A, B, C, and D, and E all together. So you have to keep your arms together, like straight, and pray that way. But if you're male, you can do this. But a female cannot do
Hmm.
this. So yeah,
Wow.
a lot of folklore places are like that.
Basically, as they say, however you were in life, you're gonna be in death. So
Yeah,
if you're jealous in life, you're gonna be jealous in death.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
why the
Irene up there in Tokyo, she has more of these suicidal spirits around her. So that's
Mm.
one big thing that she'll even tell you. You don't talk to them because they just
yeah.
how they were in life is how they are still in death, unfortunately. So
Right outside where I live, there's a guy that was murdered a long time ago. He liked to create accidents, and just last year he created an accident where a bicyclist was killed by a car, but in a car accident. So yeah, I know. I still see him. We calmed his spirit down so he doesn't do that anymore. But I know he's still around. I could still see him. But yeah, he doesn't do ha 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 anymore to me. And he doesn't say, "I'll get you." And he said, "No, you're not gonna get me." And so I know where he is. I know he's still, his essence are still there. So it's just,
Nice.
yeah. It's, you
Wow.
don't have to go very far. You just have to go out the front door and you'll see everything haunted. So you don't need to pay any money to see anything. It's just right in front of your face, or in a train station,
Mm.
or anywhere else. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's
especially
like
with it being an old country, yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Wow.
There are old cliffs and wells that happen, that things happen, that yeah, stuff happens, and they're still haunted. Schools that are haunted too. High schools and junior high schools are haunted too. So yeah, we all know
It,
that.
it's amazing to me how many stories here in Japan, the ghost stories or urban legend stories,
Hmm.
involve a well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And either somebody was killed and thrown down the well, or you were alive and you were thrown down the well and you died,
Hmm.
and you come out and you haunt people. Yeah, that's the way of life here, and yeah, there's nothing new.
Yeah, well, you're right. The well is a very common trope in
Yeah,
Japanese ghost stories and urban legends.
yeah. And instead of paying alimony, they'd rather kill kill the spouse and throw the spouse down the well. That's the yeah, that's the normal way of dying, right?
Yeah.
Instead of divorcing, paying alimony, well, throw you down the well and kill you, and then the whole new haunting story comes out, and then that's how this legend happens, and that's how that legend happens, and this is how that legend happens. Yeah, it's like
Hmm.
the same old, same old. Like the way that I talk about it is, yeah, 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 and it's like, what, you know, you gotta be kidding. I go, nah, it's just a normal thing here. And
Right.
they're saying, huh? I mean, you're so not talking about it. Of course I am, because it's the same old here, right? And they go, oh, okay, that's scary. And I go, no, it isn't.
Oh
It's
my
just,
gosh.
yeah, it's just like, like, and they go, well, when you come, you understand. Yeah, like, we'll find it normal. Like, this that's what it's like going through going through another earthquake here. Oh, okay, it's happening. I'm gonna go back to bed. Good night.
Oh,
Bye.
Japan is so used to it 'cause it's funny because everyone I've heard from a lot of people over there in the States, the big one they heard on the news over there on that the big one everyone in the United States heard over there on New Year's Day in
Yeah.
Hmm.
Japan. And I'm like, and they're like, you just don't hear about earthquakes. And I'm like, they have them yearly, and they have at least what 1 to 2 dozen. It's nothing
Hmm.
Hmm.
new for them. Like there's a couple of podcasts we've done where Irene's like, oh, there's an earthquake, and I'm like, do we need to end this, or do you need to go? And she's like, no, I'm good. Because she's just so used to it. She's like, yep, things are shaking around me. It's fine.
Yeah. I just have to hold up my china cabinet because I don't want my dishes falling out. Right.
That was me when I was living in San Diego,
I said,
Southern
okay,
California. So
it's
it's
done.
earthquakes.
We're
Used to
good.
it.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
good. And if it happens in the night, like half of them, I'm gonna wake up and hold up the TV and say, no, I'm gonna go back to bed. Good night. Like, I don't
Hmm.
care. I don't give a hoot. If it's a big one, like on New Year's, yeah, okay, it happened. So, try to try to take a shower. You got soap in your hair. You go, my husband's such an earthquake. I go, I got soap in my hair. What am I gonna do? Hurry up,
Oh,
rinse it, and get out. And I go, oh, okay. Like,
there was a fairly significant earthquake over in New York back in April, March or April, and and I mean I grew up with earthquakes, so it's like, not new for me in
no,
California. Now
yeah.
over here, that's a different story, and I was literally at a rest stop. I had just crossed from into New Jersey from New York, and
Hmm.
or New York, and I was going into New York from New Jersey, and I was at a rest stop and literally in the bathroom on sitting doing my business, and like I noticed like the stall door started to shake, and I'm like, that's interesting. And then like the whole foundation started to shake, and I actually got a little concerned because there's a difference when you're living in a place that gets a lot of earthquakes and the buildings are built to code
Hmm.
and they're built to handle earthquakes
Hmm. Yeah.
versus being someplace else that doesn't get earthquakes and
Yeah.
then the building
Oh,
starts to shake and it's not built up to code. So that
yeah.
was like probably the first time I was super nervous about an earthquake. I was like, okay, I don't want to die with my pants down in the bathroom.
Yeah. Or even in a tsunami too. Tsunami, like we're so used to. They say, "Oh, stay safe." I go, "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm fine. I don't have to worry about it. I just have to bring in my hangers when I we hang our clothes outside to dry on this side because it dries fast instead of
Mhm.
throwing it in the dryer. Because I don't throw my underwear and towels in the dryer, but clothing
Right.
I outside, right? Uh, and I just have to bring in my hanger so it doesn't fly all over the place. But yeah, it's just okay.
Wow.
So used to it. Okay, no problem. I'll just bring in my hangers on and lay them down in front of our window, and it'll be okay. And everyone says, "Are you gonna be safe?" Yes, safe. Yeah, no problem. I just planted a whole bunch of trees outside my on my lawn. I said, I live on a big hill. I don't have to worry about. Yeah, no problem. And everyone said, "Oh, your place is gonna fall." And I said, nah, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. We're pretty good. We're pretty safe. Our houses are built different. Yeah, we don't have to worry about it. It's
Yeah, they build a lot of stuff over here, earthquake proof. That's why
yeah,
tsunamis and tropical storms do a lot more damage than
Mhm.
yeah,
earthquakes.
yeah. It's not a
Okay.
match house. It's a lot. It's built a lot different.
Mhm.
The concrete's pounded into the earth a lot more, a lot stronger, and it depends on which part of Japan you live in. The one in January, that they have no soil; they only have sand. That's why they
Mm.
grow the best rice. They have the sweetest fruits in that area. So uh the earth gives away really fast because it's not soil, it's sand. So there's nothing to pound into the earth. The concrete is there's nothing to keep the building from shaking, and there's nothing to keep the building from being stabilized and falling down. So yeah, and
Mhm.
usually the old ones give out first. The ones that are built a long time ago give out first before the new ones. So and
Nice.
my pretty safe, so I don't have to worry about it.
Nice.
It's and it just depends on where you live and where you spend your money, right? You want to be smart when you buy something in Japan, and make sure it's not haunted, right?
Oh my
Make
gosh.
sure the
So
thing.
they don't have estate sales here in Japan.
No,
If you go
no,
to a thrift store, it's mostly like clothes or handbags, maybe some
yeah,
Mhm.
electronics.
yeah,
You can't it's not like you can't there's nothing like a Goodwill. You can go and buy cheap furniture, decorations. It's nothing like that here.
no,
Mhm.
Which I didn't realize. And I told I've seen thrift stores, but I never put two to two together until Irene pointed out to me, and she's like, "Yeah, they do it just because they're afraid that you know, uh,
and, and
an object is haunted." Because here in Japan, their belief is if someone passes away, all their belongings has to stay in the family.
yeah, you don't give it away to somebody else. You give it to your daughter, or you give it to your son, and you make sure that your children has it, keeps it, and you don't give it to anybody else. You just you just don't, because if you give it, if your family knows that friend that you want to give it to, sure, you can do that, but it stays in the family, right?
Mhm.
You cannot give away, like if you have a diamond wedding ring, and then after you pass away, you have to give it to somebody in your family. You cannot sell it, and there is no store that will buy it and resell it
Mhm.
unless you give it to um it's like a place where you can sell all your goods, and then they'll weigh it and then melt it down and they'll make something out of it. That's the only place that will do that. But other than that, no.
Okay.
So it's just something it's more sacred here,
Mhm.
and more treasured here. So yeah, you just you just don't give away willy nilly to anybody.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you're very careful about it. That's why when I got rid of where I lived, I threw away my curtains. I threw away everything. I didn't give it away. You just don't do that. Besides, nobody would take it either.
Wow.
They'll just throw it out. And the best thing to do is throw it out if you don't want it. And it gets burnt.
Wow.
So it's safer. Especially from a haunted house that you lived in. Everything goes in the garbage. You don't bring
Right.
you don't bring it with you. Like I threw half my stuff out and I got brand new furniture and I got brand new curtains in my house. Yeah. I didn't keep anything. I just threw everything in the garbage. Because you don't want to bring that energy with you into the other place. So it's really superstitious. And we are very superstitious people. So,
which is yeah. I knows that a lot with the culture is a lot of it has to do with respecting the deceased.
yeah.
Hmm.
Respect it to the point where you don't want it to bother you in your other place. That's why. Respecting means I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to make sure that I pray for your soul and pray for you that you will have a safe journey to heaven. But other than that, that's all. Like,
Hmm.
yeah. Do not bother me. Do not. Hi, chat. Um, yeah, yeah. If you throw
Trash
anything,
is done differently here.
yeah.
So, I mean, because we don't really have land space, so we have to separate all the trash. So, what do they do with the non-burnable things, Irene? Because I know there's burnable and non-burnable.
The burn like with its glass, it gets all the labels are pulled off the glass. It gets crushed and it gets recycled to make something else, like a new bottle or something else. If it's glass, it's they're made into um. I forgot how you call it. We have them outside. I have them outside. It's just like they're made into gravel, like bigger gravel, and you put it outside in your garden or you put it outside in your walkway. So they're recycled into that. Plastic is melted and it's made into other bottles. Toilet paper rolls are melted and are taken apart and they're made into other things. And some of them sometimes clothes, like they can make materials for jackets and stuff like that. They don't have landfills, so they're all burnt. And the heat that comes off burning the garbage heats indoor swimming pools, so they don't waste any energy.
Hmm.
So they're very picky about garbage here.
Oh yeah, they are. That's the one thing that they taught us is everything has to be separated. And
Hmm.
your garbage bags has to be the clear white ones, or they're not
Yeah,
gonna pick it up because they want to be able to, when they first pick it up, see if you
see
actually
the stuff.
separate or not. Because if you didn't, they're not gonna pick it up.
No,
Hmm.
and
Interesting.
yeah, refrigerators and stuff like that, they'll pick it up. They have particular garbage that does that. You pay
Yes, I know they told us anything large we'd have
yeah,
to contact ahead of time to get picked up,
yeah.
or
The
it's just gonna sit there forever.
the government office will, or you buy a sticker. You put the sticker on your garbage. You leave it outside your front door, and they'll have a particular truck that will pick it up and take it away for you. So, yeah, you don't have any garbage anywhere on near the mountainside or anything like that because you will get fined if you do that. They just they it's called clean energy. I think that's what you call it.
Yeah.
So insane, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
where has been your favorite place to investigate?
um. That's hard. Um. That's hard. It's like having to pick a favorite cat. Um. Trivet Clinic is pretty high up there. I did just discover a new location in Maryland that is seems to be promising. I have to do a couple more trips though to really determine like what's going on with it. But so far it's absolutely lovely and only 30 minutes away from me, which is even better. Anytime, like if I got on a location less than an hour away. Gettysburg though is Gettysburg is a good place too, and I just was there today. So yeah. Yeah.
One thing I will say about the trivia clinic and the reason why I loved going there is I felt safe even sitting alone because it's just
Mm-hmm.
like the spirits there, they're not gonna harm you. They're none of them are none of them are really the kind that would hurt anyone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone's like, why would you just free willingly sit in that red room by yourself or sit in a basement by yourself? Like, nothing's gonna hurt me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean the Trivet clinic is just so chill. I mean, it's a I mean, anytime I hear about negative experiences, my knee-jerk reaction is like, what did you do?
Yeah,
What did you say?
I've never had a negative reaction.
Yeah. Same. Same. I mean, when people have talked about getting scratched in the red room and stuff, I'm like, okay, what'd you do? Like,
Yeah,
and then I find out they said something.
nothing is violent there, or
Yeah.
like you said, you made it violence.
Well, yeah, I find that the activity there is a lot of it's just reactive. It's reactive, like you get back what you give it. That is something that I have noticed. But yeah, I mean, in terms of, I've never been scratched. I mean, I've heard a couple cuss words, but then I taught them some cuss words, and so it was like, all right, you can cuss, I can cuss too. It's it's just whatever. But yeah, so I haven't found another location like the Trevec Clinic. I mean, it's like 6 hours away from me, so it's a drive. So I'm trying to get there at least once a year, if not more. But yeah, I've been spending a lot of time in Gettysburg because that's just got, you throw a rock and hit a ghost. Don't throw rocks in Gettysburg, children. Because you'll probably hit a person or a car. But yeah, it's that one's a special place. And even when I was there today and just kind of taking in what I like to do, and I posted about on my Facebook and my Instagram earlier, is I like to get a nice coffee and I like to go hang out on the battlefield. It's super hot right now though, so just enjoying the iced coffee at Devil's Den was not as comfortable as it usually is. To cut that a little bit short because I was melting. But yeah, it's a great place. So much history happened there. I have a lot of reverence for the location. I've been doing a deep dive into the battle history, which is extensive, and there are hundreds of books written about it, and just to understand the nuance with it. But yeah, it's a great place.
I've never been, but it sounds like a good place because I know Lawrence Milano goes there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks highly of it. Where I told him, I'm like, all right, I don't know who I need to write a letter to, but I'm nominating you as the mascot or whatever for that place. I was like, you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I try to go about once a month. I don't share about it when I go though, because a lot of times I find if I go and I share about it, people expect content, and that's the one like thing about content creation is once you start doing it, then people expect it. So a lot of times my trips are like because I'm only about an hour and a half away.
Mhm.
So it's a quick drive. I mean, I left this morning, left at 8:30, got there, or I left at 9, got there at 10:30, and then I hung out until about 3 or 4 o'clock, and then drove home and got home by 5:30. And it's a nice day trip. And my husband also loves going to Gettysburg now too. I've converted him. So um next conversion will be paranormal investigator, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
What advice would you give someone trying to enter the paranormal field?
Let's see. I would say don't just do something because everyone else has done it. That
Yep.
is something that I see that's very prominent in the community now, is people will replicate what they see on TV or um, what they see like influencers doing.
Mhm.
I would say read as many books as you can about
Mhm.
like the history of investigating or historical figures in the paranormal. Big reason why I wrote Women of the Paranormal, so that people were more aware about women's history. Actually, Irene, I've been meaning to ask you because I have in Women of the Paranormal, I have Aiko Gibo in the book. Um, I would love to know, like, what was the overall perception of Aiko Gibo? I'm curious because she was very out there with her psychic abilities and
Gib
her,
Ayako,
yeah,
Gib
Aiko,
Ayako, Gib Ayako, right?
yeah, yep,
She died, right?
yep. I think in '96, I want to
Yeah,
say.
she went everywhere. She had a big influence. You see, back then, paranormal was really popular. Okay,
I mean, she had a whole segment on
yeah,
daytime TV in Japan, going to
yeah.
haunted
She,
places.
she
So
went
yeah.
to England. She went to the Tower. She went to all these different places. She went to Romeo and Juliet's houses, and yeah, she went to everywhere. Um, Gib Ayako was the famous. If you don't know who she is, she was a famous Japanese paranormal investigator. She made many, 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 many television shows, and she talked about certain spirits were there, and like her view was like they were there. I could see them, but that's about all they do. They
Hmm.
talk about that. They show what they're doing. They show what they're wearing, and that's as far as they went. As far as being clairvoyant, they would never. They don't help. They don't. They just leave well enough as it is alone. So they would go to a certain area. They would talk about it, and they would take them to different haunted areas in Japan or outside of Japan, and they will talk about who they see, where they're standing, what they're wearing. If they're male or female, they'll talk about that, and they will talk about what they will ask what they want, um, why are they there, and what happened to them. That's what they would talk about. But as far as helping them so they will go to heaven or they'll do something, they wouldn't do that because that's like my son. My son's the same way. He will know who they are if they're male or female, um, what they're doing, that what happened to them. He will know that. But as far as anything else is concerned, you do not you do not touch it with a 10-foot pole. Whereas I am on the other side, I will talk, I will ask, I will find out how they died, what they look like, everything else, and I will try to help them so they can
Hmm.
find peace. But
Yeah.
that's a different cup of tea because they're not into that. These
Right.
clairvoyants, and there's another one who was a Buddhist monk. She was really good too. She also died um a long time ago. No, I think this year. No, 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 no. Near 2000, she died. She was also talking about that too, and she said, "I'll pray for you," and that's all they would do. So there is a connection to the spirit life. There's a connection to the dead with these famous ladies who were into the paranormal, what they did, who they talked to, and how they talked about the person who died. But as far as helping them, they would not. You just don't do that. There's a limit of what you would do, and I think how we perceive as paranormal here is like you acknowledge they lived, you acknowledge they died, and you pray for their soul, but that's about it. That's as far as you will go. You leave them alone. And I think it's a culture that does that. I don't think, uh, as far as helping them, mm-mm. And
That's interesting because I think Aiko Gibo I mean, because with there's a she's credited for
mhm,
discovering one of the most prominent spirits at a Mary King's Close. And I think the spirit's name was Annie. And
mhm,
like when Annie came up, Annie was crying about not having a doll. And so Aiko
mhm,
went to the local toy store and bought her a doll.
mhm,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah,
It's
I'm
about
trying to remember
everything
her
is about
book. Yeah.
appeasing the spirits, helping them so they could be in the spirit life, even though they're they're wandering, they would help them so they would be happy wandering. That's what
Yeah.
it's really hard. They said, why don't you help them cross over so they can go to heaven? No, they're not
Mhm.
into that. They wouldn't do that.
Wow.
The
Interesting.
only time when you will talk, you can't go to a place in northern Japan where you can talk to your dead relatives. I don't know how much money you give. I don't think it's not that expensive. I think it's very cheap, but you can talk to your dead relatives, and she will bring them down to heaven, and she will talk to them for you. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, there's really no. It's really freaky place, right? Because it's like how you die. It's like
Mhm.
it's the when you die, you walk along the stream, and it's full of rocks, and you get thirsty. So that's why you give water to the dead to the dead bodies, so they could so that they won't get thirsty when they go to heaven, because they have to walk a long path to go to heaven. Um,
Right. Oh, wow.
and yeah, you feed them, and you make sure they have lots to drink, and lots to eat, so they don't go hungry when they're
Mhm.
dead. And yeah, it's
Wow.
it's a morbid thing, but it's very important. Even as your pets, even when they die, you have to give wet their mouths to make sure they have water, so that their journey to heaven can be with something to drink and something to eat.
Mhm.
It's very
Wow.
important to do that. Yeah, it's very important to do that. Um,
Wow.
yeah, we all do that here. Um, um, it's one of the rituals that we have to do.
Mm.
Uh, it's it. You know, they do. They do pray for the dead. Don't get me wrong. They do pray for the dead. They do treasure. They do respect the dead. But as far as helping them so they will cross over to heaven or go to heaven, that's where people, clairvoyants, will not do the extra mile to help them cross over. So they will. So when my mom died, we were having a fight. I mean, we were actually fighting in my sleep. And she said, I'm not dead. And I said, yes, you are. She goes, no, I'm not. I said, okay, well, that's fine. So I had to go to Buddhist priest to make prayers for her so that she would cross over properly. And that was before any time before I could do what I could do now. Like
Mhm.
I wish, like Amanda said, I wish I could go back and just help my mother cross over. Yeah, that's one of the things that you wish that you could do, but you never got a chance to do that because you never knew how to do it properly, right?
Right.
It's just one of those things that, yeah, like, boy, was I ever dumb. Like, you don't fight with a dead spirit, that's for sure.
Mhm.
Never do that, never do that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No. I wouldn't. I do not recommend that.
No, you don't, even if it's dead relative, nah, you just leave it alone. Like, yeah. Oh gosh, yeah, that happened. And it does happen, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that there's a limit what you will do in Japan. But as far as what I do, they don't touch it with the 10-foot pole. I think they're afraid to do that. I think they just don't want to disturb the spirit, so they did it walk around.
Right. Well,
And
I'm just
thing is,
wondering, like, where it changed because, you mentioned back in, like, the 90s, there was a bit more openness to it, and
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
and there were tons of paranormal programs on TV, and it was one of the things that everyone watched. Okay,
Yeah.
and it's really sad because now they have to hide. They
Yeah.
can't watch. You'd have to look on YouTube to find that, or you have to look on TikTok to find that program, because that's where they would stream it to. They won't stream
Right.
it to any, even Facebook. They won't stream it to Facebook.
Wow.
Yeah, and sometimes I have to go to TikTok to watch it. Um, a documentary of a haunted place in Japan. I
Oh
don't
wow.
go back and forth a lot. I like to watch certain
Mm-hmm.
things a lot, and yeah, you just can't find it. And
Mm.
it is a part of a television program, right? A documentary program, and they do have professionals going to this place that's haunted, and they will talk about what happened there, when it happened, how long ago it happened, what
Mm-hmm.
was the accident or what was the death about. And yeah, it's no longer open anymore, and it's so sad that you have to hide and to show that program, because I think a lot of people now are more educated, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they're more analytical.
Yeah.
If they can't see it, smell it, feel it, touch it, they don't believe it. It's really
Wow.
sad. It's
That
really
is
sad.
sad.
Yeah. So that's why I keep my mouth shut when I go in public, right?
Yeah. No,
And
that's unfortunate because especially since there used to be more reception to it all.
yeah. Oh yeah. Like every week, I think it was every Friday, there was
Mhm.
always a paranormal program, and I'd be glued to my TV set. I go, oh great, this person's gonna watch it, right?
Yeah.
And then you tape it, right? You could use your VCR, you tape it, right? And that was one of the things that was really fun to watch, right?
Yeah.
It,
Oh, I
it,
bet.
it- yeah, but it's funny, children are influenced in the paranormal even to this day, okay?
Mhm.
Because they have children's programs, they have games, the Nintendo games, or the PS5 games. Japanese games are mostly paranormal, okay?
Mhm.
And so they're really influenced in that. They really like it. As far as going out and doing something and seeing something, no, you're crazy, right?
Right.
And it's, dang, if you're gonna influence your kid that way and you know that exists, like, why do you want to do that, right? And I just,
Mhm.
yeah, it's like say as I do, not do as I say.
Yeah. No, sounds like it.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining
Yeah,
us. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
No problem. This was fun. This was
Yeah,
a great conversation.
we'll
we'll
have
have to
to
come back
schedule
again
another.
and talk about it again,
Yeah,
because
we'll have to
Yes.
there's a
schedule more
lot
to
more
have
we
like
didn't
a part
touch
two.
on,
I'll make
right?
sure my evening is free, completely free too.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I appreciate it having me on. Yeah.
All
yeah.
right, and everyone who watched, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully, maybe
Bye
we'll get part two
bye.
sometime. And